serving the Delaware Valley with the best music and the best talk.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect that of radio station WVLT, Clear Communications Incorporated, its staff and management, or our sponsors. WVLT, Clear Communications Incorporated, retains the right to record all phone calls received during this program for future promotions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Soloff, and welcome back to the Inform the Vote NJ radio hour here on Cruisin' 92.1 WVLT in Vineland. And real quick, to potentially comply with the FCC regulations during election season, this 1 hour show is ordered and paid for by Steve Soloff for J.R. Carman, candidate for the Hopewell-Shiloh School Board. Before we bring on tonight's guest, I want a few minutes to talk about something bigger than just this one race. I want to talk about openness, communication, and awareness when it comes to local politics, because frankly, it's not always easy to find out what's going on in your own backyard. Over the past few years, especially with the collapse of the local press, a lot of people don't know where to look for election information, whether they're even welcome in certain political spaces, or whether they're allowed to talk about certain topics without it turning into a shouting match. And that lack of clarity leaves a lot of voters in the dark. So let me give you a quick story. This morning, I stopped at my local Wawa for an energy drink, and there's this group of guys that hangs out and chats out front. They know I follow local politics, so one of them brings up a school board candidate. Immediately he says, "I see the lawn signs all over town, but there's no way to know anything about this candidate." And now I couldn't help but laugh a little, because if you know me, you know I'm the Inform the Vote NJ guy. So I said, let me prove you wrong real quick. I pulled out my phone, went on to my site, showed him the candidate's full profile plus 3 archived radio interviews that have gone up in just the past few weeks. And while I was at it, I politely corrected him on the candidate's gender, which he had assumed from the name on the lawn sign. And here's the funny part. I've told this same group of guys about my project multiple times. I've handed them my business cards. They know I do this. But that's where the marketing depth comes into play. Just because you've said hello, shaken a hand, and handed over a card, that doesn't mean you've converted the sale. You've got to be persistent. That's why it gets a little frustrating when municipalities start tightening rules on lawn signs. I'm just trying to raise awareness as a public service, and it shouldn't cost hundreds or thousands of dollars just to put a few little pieces of cardboard in the ground. Now, let's get into collecting the content. My site started as a repository, a central place where voters could review everything before election day without spending hours scouring Google, following 50 different social media pages, or attending every meeting. People are busy. They're not looking to become part-time politicos. They just want an easier way to do their civic homework once in a while. If a candidate already has content, they can send it my way and I'll host it. If they're planning to create content, just let me know. But the reality is, most of the time, that content doesn't exist until I press for it. And honestly, it shouldn't be that difficult. If I can walk around the Vineland Food Truck Festival and get multiple candidates, plus a bunch of regular people to talk for a few minutes on camera, then we can figure out a way to make this work. I'm not here to catch anyone off guard. I'm not looking for gotcha moments. You either know why you're running and what you hope to accomplish, or you don't. And here's another lesson I was reminded of this past weekend. Assume the person you're talking to knows something that you don't. That's really the whole premise of Inform the Vote NJ. Many people simply don't know who the candidates are or what the issues are in a given election. So let's help them out. Let's give them a fair chance to be informed. Take tonight as an example. Up until a few weeks ago, I didn't know who J.R. Carman was, but he got my email. He sent over his basic campaign messaging. He invited me onto his radio show, and now here he is online. He's stepping up, and we're going to spend about 50 minutes talking about the Hopewell-Shiloh School District and unpacking his platform. I'll archive this conversation on the site, break it down so voters can quickly see what he's about, and let them compare him with the other candidates in the race. That's how this is supposed to work. Voters hear directly from the people on the ballot. They weigh the ideas and they make their choice. You know, like a democratically elected, constitutional federal republic is supposed to function. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, let's welcome our guest, candidate for the Hopewell-Shiloh School Board, J.R. Carman.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Soloff, for inviting me on the program, and I certainly like the way you introduced me by mentioning the fact that we indeed do live in a country that is a democratic constitutional federal republic. Often we only hear 1/4 of that description given in mentioning that we are a democracy, which we do have democratic attributes to our government, but we are a constitution and a constitutional government because we have a constitution which is our rule of law. Mm-hmm. And of course then we have the federal, which is the state, and the national government, which is incidentally unique in all of world's history for the United States, and then of course the republic, small r, meaning representative. Mm-hmm. So I just want to begin my portion of the program and commending you for this avenue and this media that you're giving to the people. You're attempting to help better inform the people, and I would say that it's certainly it would have been nice if you've been around much longer, maybe years ago starting this, because maybe that would have helped some better decisions at the ballot box. Yeah. With you putting this endeavor, this initiative out there to try in attempting to better inform the voters of the candidates.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for being here. As I mentioned in the introductory report, sometimes it's difficult to get people to talk, but you have certainly been cooperative. And, everybody's on their own life path, right? And these past 10 years have certainly raised the political intensity, I guess you could say. And my experience through that, in part, has led me down this path. When I got my sample ballot in the mail a couple years ago, and I looked and I realized I didn't know who these people were, I wanted to do my homework and saying, okay, this is at least somewhat important. I'll sit around for a couple hours on the Google machine and read an article or two about each candidate or whatever, and it was just way more difficult than that. And so almost out of selfishness turned into service, it's, well, this is my personal problem. I'm trying to fix it, and I can't be the only one, as my father always says. If you're having a problem, it's very likely that other people are having the same problem. And so hopefully this is a little bit of a form of giving back.
Yeah, you're filling a void. Mm-hmm. There's been a void. The media, we used to have the Violent Times Journal.
Sure.
We had the Bridgeton Evening News years ago. I believe the Elver Times is still going strong. Mm-hmm. But newspaper media was essential in getting the information out there, and it was a forum by which the candidates could use to introduce themselves to the voters, their policy positions and so forth. That largely has gone away. Now you're either on the red team or the blue team, and that's it. It's either one or the other, very much polarized. So you're doing something that's very important because you're actually attempting to have a conversation with people, having a conversation with candidates. You're challenging them to articulate what it is that they believe, what they think, beginning with what they believe the purpose of government is to begin with.
Sure.
And that's not an easily definable that's not a topic that's really understood anymore. Mm-hmm. So this whole endeavor that you're doing, like I said, I think it's very, very important because you're filling a void there that people, they just simply vote red or blue now.
Yeah.
And you're actually putting some substance to what these candidates who are willing to do this. And of course, there's a tremendous sacrifice that's made by those who do want to serve. And it takes a commitment, and it takes diligence, and it takes an acumen, and it takes some intelligence, and it of course takes some fortitude to be able to do this. So again, it's important that this forum is used and it's employed by the people, utilized by the people to make better decisions when they go and vote the first Tuesday in November.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, with that being established, why don't we get into it? So why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and how that helps you prepare for the role that you're not only currently serving, but are seeking re-election for?
Well, in relation to serving on a school board, I believe that my background would serve my citizens, my fellow citizens, and my neighbors in Hopewell Township is the fact that I've been an ardent student of history my entire life, and I've also been an ardent student of the Bible, and I've also been very interested in theology as well as American and United States history, government, the political theory of the American founding. I have a master's in United States history and government, and I also have prior to that, I have a bachelor's in network and cybersecurity.
Oh, really?
So
I missed that in our correspondence.
Yeah, so there's multifaceted educational experiences there that serve me well, and that's essentially why I accentuate security with the school board and the school, Hopewell Crest School, as well as civics and history.
Sure.
So,
well then, actually, that gentleman I referenced, whom I was speaking with at Wawa this morning, he actually wanted me to bring up the religion issue, and usually I don't, but since you've mentioned it, that you're a student of the Bible and all that, could you maybe unpack how that helps prepare you for your role, or how you see it?
Well, essentially, as we go back into history, the Bible was the chief textbook that was used in this country for the first 150 to 200 years. The Bible was used in the New England Primer by the Puritans even before the Revolution, even before we declared independence. And the education was primarily based in the early years of our nation. The mother, she was the chief, she was the educator. She was teaching the children as the father was out farming, or as the iron worker or the wheelwright, or whatever it is, whatever occupation. Of course, agriculture was a major occupation in the early days, but mother was essentially the first teacher, and she was teaching the children to read and to write initially. And the textbook that was primarily employed was the Bible itself. Of course, this goes back even to the beginning. We can go back to the beginning of the nation of Israel, where the law of Moses, the first 5 books, the Pentateuch, given by God to Moses on Sinai, the command was for the people to read and to learn and to study day and night, and the intent was that they would be remembering these verses and remembering all this. So education was a very, very important part of the nation of Israel to begin with. And in many ways, the nation of Israel was the first nation to implement representative government.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
And that's when Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, saw that Moses was leading all these thousands of Israelites out of slavery and out of bondage in Egypt. And he was making all these decisions. And Jethro said, you need to appoint one person for every 50 people to be able to start to make these decisions, basing these decisions on a lot of civil issues.
Sure. You
can't get bogged down with. And really, so there's the beginning of what we read of as representative government right there, from one person representing 50. And so that Moses was able to essentially and bring the word of God to the people of Israel as he was used to do. So this is education going as far back as 4990 BC is when this all occurred with the exodus from Egypt.
This is making me think of a couple of concepts. The first one is, with my software development background, it sounds like you've reverse engineered to a certain extent. And so, we're born in this time, but you've done the research to trace it back to the root. Now, obviously, there's going to be multiple interpretations and all kinds of things happen through history textbooks or whatever, but at least you've done your reasonable best to pinpoint what that might look like. And so there's got to be at least some sort of foundation of where all of our concepts and ideas and practices, methods, and all kind of stuff comes from. And that kind of brings me to my second point, which is I heard... Oh, go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
Steve,
sure.
I just wanted to say briefly that when we're talking about education, we're talking about what happens within days of the child's birth when the child begins to become unruly or wants to do something that would not be appropriate or something that would be a bad thing, that mom and dad are there to say no and to teach the child essentially right from wrong.
Yeah.
And this is what we learn that is derived from God and from His Word, the Bible. Right, essentially right from wrong. And of course, Abraham Lincoln talked about this in the political forum in 1858 and through 1860, saying that this whole argument over slavery is predicated upon what is right and what is wrong.
Sure.
Is it wrong? Is it right to hold another person as you considering them property and keeping them in bondage? Is that wrong? And the laws of nature and nature's God tell me, as Abraham Lincoln said, yes, that is wrong. It is wrong to deprive any human being, regardless of their skin color, their equal right, their natural rights, their rights before God, which the founders codified in the Declaration of Independence with the philosophy that the self-evident truth that all men are created equal. They're all equal in the respect that they are given natural rights. They have the right to live. They have the right to be at liberty, to make decisions for themselves. They have the right to pursue their own happiness. And so the equality principle doesn't mean that all people are going to be equal in result. That's up to the individual.
Sure.
And that's why school is so important. That's why we're teaching children to be self-sufficient and independent. But at the same time, education has a lot to do with teaching right from wrong. And in many ways, that's something that now has become, in an age of relativity and interpretation and subjectivity, that we've lost that right from wrong concept. And this is one of the reasons why we have a lot of the problems that we have in our society. So this all gets to the education.
So you're basically making the case for there's a necessary element within the school system to be teaching morality and ethics.
Well, but at the same time, though, Stephen, that begins with the parents.
Sure.
And this is what's been, I've heard parents say that, well, we're sending our children to school, we're starting in preschool and kindergarten, and it's the job of the teachers. It's the job of the school to teach our children. Well, that's the exact opposite.
It's like over-delegation.
Well, the fact is that the parents have the parents have been given the children. The responsibility of the child is the parents. The parents have the child's greatest interests in view. No state, no public entity can do that, can replace the love and affection that a parent has for that child. So we cannot marginalize the importance of mom and dad being the first educators, and they will be the educators for those children right through the child's entire life into adulthood, and even as a much older adult. So the education of a parent taking on with a child should never end. Now, the school system is a supplement. It's not a substitute for the importance. Like we were talking about your writing skills. I believe you have writing skills. It's quite evident.
Why, thank you, sir.
in your Facebook posts and in your emails. And you said, well, my mother. So immediately you're thinking,
yep.
And that's natural. That's natural. That's a natural way to think. There are many attributes that we carry forward. We attempt to take the good qualities that we see in our parents.
Thank you, Mom.
Well done, Mrs. Soloff.
Mrs. Hunt.
Mrs. Hunt.
She kept her first marriage. Okay, whatever.
Mrs. Hunt. You did a fine job with your son. So, but the point is that the parents can never be separated from the importance of the child's education. So that means all through the grades, and this is something that we're doing as an initiative at Hopewell Crest School.
Okay.
We call a Renaissance program that our fine curriculum director, Jennifer Lutek, and our outstanding head administrator, Megan Lamerson, initiated at the school. And we have a fine vice principal, Mr. Spicer, who's involved now as well. So we're very, very enthused with the team and the administration we have. But they understand the importance of curriculum, and I have the privilege of being the curriculum chair. And the whole concept behind this new attitude, which incorporates students, the administration, the teachers, but most importantly now, the parents. The parents need to be involved in helping reinforce, following up on what was being taught that day in school, discussing it. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it's very difficult to get the family at the table and to discuss these things because of being pulled in so many different directions, whether it's through sports or work or what have you. And those times that when the family is together and discussing these things is so important. It makes me think, Steve, of President Garfield, who was president. Unfortunately, he was assassinated in 1888, but he was also a Union soldier, but he became president in 1880, and he was, him and his wife had textbooks at the table for the children, and the children were learning Greek and Hebrew at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. So that was the standard that was placed by a man who was president of the United States, James Garfield, and that is something to be commended. And is that something that we're doing? And I've talked to this with Mrs. Lutek and Ms. Lamerson. It's important for the parents to go outside and to talk about the blood moon that we had 2 nights ago, and to talk about the constellations and talk about the lightning bugs, the lightning bugs we see the first week of June every year. To go out and to talk about these things, and if you see a praying mantis, or start to talk about nature, equipping and teaching and discussing and having a conversation with your child about nature. This is all part of education. This is something that
This is like the parent as primary teacher kind of stuff.
Yeah, the parent essentially is the primary teacher. Mm-hmm. And the parent should have the mentality that the school is the supplement.
Right.
And of course, school boards and running for school boards have been something that's become very politicized over the last few years. Mm-hmm. And parents have the ability to check and to learn what it is that the children are being taught, or to find out from their school board, from their curriculum chairman, myself, exactly what's going on, the curriculum director at school, find out if they do have issues, or if they are some apprehension on their part on what the curriculum consists of. It's there for them to find out. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I believe it's very important as a member of the school board, as the curriculum chair, to encourage the parents, my fellow neighbors in Hopewell Crest Township who have children in their school, to assist in the education and to help reinforce and to participate. Yeah. And I believe that would only strengthen that relationship and that bond that is irrevocable between a parent and a child.
So then, bringing it back to the Renaissance program that you were talking about, what specifically is that?
It's a change in culture. It's a change in the way we're thinking. It's a positive approach by the students, getting them to come to school and to attendance, and taking a lot of interest in getting up every day, attending the school, good attitudes towards learning, helping their fellow students, helping their teachers, getting them involved, with the teachers taking on a new attitude, a better outlook, appreciating what they really do as educators.
Sure.
It's so important what our teachers do, and to take great honor in that. A student should take honor in learning.
Sure.
To talk about that, it's honorable to learn. It's not, counterculture has said, you want to be as dumb as possible.
Anti-intellectualism kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So we're trying to, Renaissance, meaning a rebirth in attitude and in culture, is where it starts with. This is what I think is very important. And I commend Jennifer Lotek and Megan Lamerson on this idea of the Renaissance program, because it needs to start with the attitude.
Yeah.
It needs to start with the culture.
Can you outline?
That culture also, I'm sorry, Steve,
no, it's fine.
But the culture includes the students, the teachers, the administrators as well, and the parents, and the taxpayers who don't have children in the school system.
Sure.
Like myself. I don't have any children or grandchildren in the school system.
You're just involved.
But I believe that my responsibility as a citizen, as a good citizen, and you've read this, and I've put this on the Hopewell Township Facebook page, I believe primarily that a school board member's duty is to protect and serve. Now, there are those who will remember, in my generation, in the late 1960s, there was a police program called Dragnet. And it was about the Los Angeles Police Department, and that was their motto, protect and serve. So in my estimation, as a school board member, it's important to protect and serve.
Yeah.
Beginning with the fact that the physical protection of the students and the administrators and the teachers is the primary objective. So
yeah, in our correspondence, you said there was a defense in depth program. Can you outline what that looks like and how it would play out in practice?
Sure. So the defense in depth incorporates just exactly what it is. It's a multi-dimensional way of protecting the school, the students, the faculty, the teachers, the administrators. It begins with observing, looking for anything that's out of the ordinary during the beginning of school day, with the buses coming in, or even with the teachers driving in. Then we have a camera system, where we have cameras throughout the entire school that are being monitored by our security personnel, by our by Megan Lamerson, the superintendent of the school, and by the vice principal of the school, vice administrator at the school, Mr. Spicer. And this is something that just last night I was looking at the cameras, and if there's a problem with the camera, we have technology and IT personnel that are able to rectify the situations that we get the camera up. We have we keep doors locked at all times. We're situationally aware of what is happening at all times during the school. And of course, because of the day that we live in and the atrocities that have been committed in public school, this really becomes the most essential aspect, and that is protecting, securing. No learning environment can be provided without security, just like in an environment in a community or in a neighborhood.
Sure.
If an individual isn't secure in their household or on their street or in their community, they're going to find it difficult to go to work, or they're going to find it difficult to go outside and spend some leisure time. So
find it difficult to sit down and study and focus.
That's exactly right. And so security is so very, very, it's the chief, it's really it's essentially the purpose, the main purpose of government is security. Securing what? Securing rights. What rights? Natural rights. They begin with life. They begin with your ability to make decisions, where you're going to go to work, where you want to go to college, who you want to marry, what particular book you're going to put, whatever it may be, whatever. And then the pursuit of happiness, it has to do with the environment. You can only pursue happiness in a safe environment.
Sure.
How can you be happy if you're worried about a drive-by shooting in the neighborhood?
Right.
How can you be happy learning about science and about the composition of what makes that light and that lightning bug that we see the first week of July? How can we learn about that if we're worried about a shooting, a school shooting? So it begins with security.
So then with the defense in depth strategy, is that something that's already been implemented?
Yes, it's been implemented. We work with the state police. They're very, very helpful. They'll come and speak, and there are different days in which they provide their presence, and we have a very good relationship with them. Megan Lamerson, our superintendent, she's involved with them, as well as her assistant administrator Spicer. So we have a lot to do with engaging law enforcement. There are protocols that are required, of course, by the state in that regard to make sure that but we have a very, very secure building. It's difficult even for the school board members to get in there on Monday nights when we go to meet.
Basically, it sounds like it's already implemented, and you're just hoping to continue it.
That's right.
Is there really any improvements that need to be made or anything like that?
Well, it's like I told our assistant superintendent last night, Mr. Spicer. I said, we can never get complacent with security.
Right.
You can never think, well, we're foolproof. No. Every day we wake up could be the day where a catastrophe could happen. So that means we need to be prepared.
Yeah.
We need to think of ways to better secure the building, to better protect our children and our school faculty and the people associated with that school every day. If that means putting in motion lights in this particular room, or maybe another camera, or being more vigilant and observing our surroundings and looking and seeing if anything is out of the ordinary. And these are all things that the staff have already noticed and done prior. So there's probably countless times when a catastrophe has already been avoided,
right,
and diverted because of the vigilance of those who are managing and running the school and are participating in the school. And of course, it's important to teach the students to be observant and for them to be vigilant so that they can protect themselves. So this is something that it's an ongoing thing that we can never get too complacent about.
Yeah, it sounds like my Krav Maga classes, where, for those of you out there who don't know, that's the Israeli self-defense system,
which is very, very efficient and very, very good.
And then it also sounds like my interview with Luz Vasquez, who's running for Vineland School Board. She was talking about ideas of looking around the Vineland High School building, because there's doors all over the place, and she wants to make sure that every avenue is checked out and fully secured. So sounds very similar.
And that's even that's a greater challenge because there's many more students.
Sure.
So there's many more opportunities for someone to exploit the boundaries. So that's why it's very, very important. But really, when you're serving on a school board, and if I could just mention, Steve, I took the attitude. Now, when I ran 3 years ago, I was the only one on the ballot.
Oh.
Prior to that, write-ins were, each year write-ins were being elected. It wasn't even something. And I think that this was pretty much the norm nationally, really up until the last 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Has school board now become something that people are looking at as something that is a worthwhile endeavor. And of course, it's become politicized. And when people are evaluating candidates predicated on political party, does that have validity? In my mind, without knowing the thoughts or the philosophy of the candidate,
right,
may not have a lot to do with. The one thing about school boards, it's been able up until this point to remain bipartisan, where we haven't had to say, well, I'm a Republican candidate for school board,
right,
or I'm a Democrat candidate for school board. We haven't gotten that far. We could be headed in that direction.
Well, yeah.
Unfortunately. But it's important to realize that when you're running for school board, many people think, well, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to come out with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a real impact. My attitude was just the opposite. My attitude was to be quick to listen and slow to speak.
Right.
So the first couple of years, I kind of laid back and just listen and deliberate and concentrate and think things through.
Mm-hmm.
Then once you have some experience and you have some knowledge, well, then you can offer that knowledge humbly and in a timely and in a respectful manner.
Yeah, you got to get a lay of the land first.
Right. So in my estimation, there's a lot of people running for school board because I'm gonna straighten it. I'm gonna fight for the parents. I'm gonna fight for.
And then you dive in, you don't really know what you're doing.
Whenever you have a candidate saying, I'm going to fight for this or for that, they don't. That's not what the founders. That's not the mentality the founders had. The founders had the mentality, you're there to represent, not fight. The fighting was done they did the fighting in fighting to create this nation and this Constitution. We're given the formidable task of carrying it forth. And of course, Dr. Ben Franklin thought that was going to be the great challenge, and it proved that it could have been the end during the Civil War, but we were able to get through that thanks to Mr. Lincoln and the Union and the Union winning, the Republican Party, incidentally, winning that war. And we've had problems throughout the 20th century, but representatives are there to represent the best interests of the people in protecting their natural rights.
Yeah.
And not to fight for them, or I hear, well, the people deserve better. You hear this all the time from the candidates. Well, they deserve this, they deserve that. The Constitution is what provides the deserving. The law which provides the deserving. It's up to the individual to be obedient to that law. Mm-hmm. And it's important for a school board member to be obedient to the state constitution. We swear an oath to the state constitution when we're sworn in as a school board member. So that means you should read something and know something about it.
Right.
And I would challenge many people who are running not only for school board, but for local offices, whether they're freeholders or whether they're assemblymen or state senators or governors.
City councilmen,
anyone. I challenge you to become familiar with the state constitution. And I believe that that's one of the attributes and that's one of the accomplishments that I've been able to bring as a representative for the people of Hopewell Crest to the table or to the school board.
You're extremely well versed in the foundation.
And I believe that really should be prerequisite for anyone who wants to hold office, especially if they want to be president of the United States.
So then I see in your agenda you've got academic growth and individuality with does that mean like individualized programs for students, or what did you mean by that?
Well, we're talking about, and we were discussing this last night with our fine curriculum coordinator, Jennifer Lutek. We have state standards that we have to adhere by.
Sure.
Now, many of these state standards, of course, are derived from Trenton, which is, many of them are legislated through the assembly and then signed on by the governor. Now, traditionally throughout American history, education has been very much a local endeavor. And nationally with the creation of the Department of Education, which isn't that only decades old, with the state standards that are imposed upon, if you will, or legislated by the state assembly and by Trenton. A lot of the local interest in the particular peculiarities that exist locally aren't taken into consideration, whereas the local educators, administrators, they have a far better concept. They have a far better grasp of the students, of the culture of the area. You know, the culture in Hopewell Crest Township is very different than the culture in Cherry Hill.
Sure. Or
in Camden, or in Trenton, or in Elizabeth.
Long Branch.
Or Newark, or Long Branch. So education historically has always been very, very locally focused, locally derived and locally focused. So that's something that, so what that gets down to is not looking upon, and this is something we could go into. I've been studying John Dewey, and John Dewey was really he's called the father of American education, philosophy, a philosopher. Really, the most famous American philosopher next to John Rawls would be John Dewey. Mm-hmm. And our public education system is predicated much on his theories, which are over 100 years old. And with Dewey came a more focus on the group away from the individual.
Okay.
How will the person be able to exist and to flourish within a group, as opposed to teaching the person to be able to flourish independently for themselves first, then
Sure.
coming into the group. It was the group Dewey thought was first, as opposed to the individual. You can train an individual, but the idea with education is to incorporate or to provide the necessary means, through the necessary means, but the essentials to be able to be successful for themselves.
Yeah.
For them to be able to work out issues and problem solve for themselves individually, and to be able to notice the particular talents that one particular child may have different from another.
Yeah.
As opposed to making everyone think and align themselves the same. Let's see what this child can do. This child has a proclivity for excellent math skills at an early age. So let's help embolden. Let's help empower that young student.
Right.
Moving him further. And in some instances, this is done in grade levels where some children are ahead of grade levels than the people of their children of the same age, the students of the same age, which is a good thing. That's a good example of progressivism. That word can be used in negative and positive connotation, but it's important that we get back to the idea that the individual, the child is an individual, and that child has been given certain talents and proclivities and characteristics that set him apart from the other child.
So is that currently being done in Hopewell, or is that something you're hoping to implement?
No, it is being done, and Hopewell Crest has to be commended because it's already established a lot of what most schools don't have, and that is this idea of empowering the individual student, giving the student the resources to be able to flourish for themselves. Also to be able to be within a community and to be within a group and be within a grade and be within,
Sure.
and to be respectful and so forth. But many of these skills should be taught at home.
Yeah.
Even before, right, from a very early age.
Yeah. I mean, I think my parents did a good job, but you know.
You can always tell. I mean, the statistics don't lie that
Other people in the community might disagree,
Well, but no. So, and we've discussed this before, that Hopewell Crest, we have social studies program, or we have social studies that are given, especially as the children become older in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, but they're introduced to it from the very from the very early stages. That's the exception nationally to the rule. Normally, social studies isn't something that's even considered until the children become older. I mean, I remember when I was in school, I went to Ellison School, which was a fine private school here in Vineland, from the ages of 2 to 6, and we were cutting out images of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln every February, and we were learning about them in first, second, and third grades.
Right.
And this is something that needs to be brought back if it's been taken away. But at Hopewell Crest, that doesn't exist. And I have detailed information that Ms. Lutek has given me on the science, the language arts, which is essentially English, is what we called it.
Sure.
And mathematics and science. And so all of these different curriculum, all these different subjects are being taught to the children. And the teachers are observing the students individually. Our administrative staff, Megan Lamerson, our chief administrator, Jen Lutek, they know these children personally. That's the other thing. They have a very, they know the families, they know the characteristics, they know when something's not right with the child because they're with them so much and they know. So they're able to see the accomplishments and the educational goals and objectives being reached by each one of these children. And with this new curriculum initiative, there's going to be better benchmarking that's going to be implemented. And when you have one person who's coordinating the curriculum, normally that curriculum coordinators had to take on other administrative responsibilities like discipline and so forth. That doesn't exist now. We have our vice administrator, Mr. Spicer, doing this, and then Jen Lutek is just focused on the curriculum and the students, their education, and equipping the teachers to be able to do their job. So it's very much, there's a lot of transparency at Hopewell Crest, and I'm very thrilled with the objective and the direction we're heading, because the testing standards, which is another point of a bit of contention. The point of contention can be with the state standards and how we can take the best of the state standards and implement them to the local level, taking into the local considerations and the individual and particular circumstances of our students at Hopewell Crest. And then also the testing. Sometimes we have students that are excellent, receive exceptional marks, and they don't test particularly well. Well, it could be just like anyone else having a bad day.
Sure.
We just like a pitcher not being able to get through out of the first inning. Yeah. I mean, this happens, and this is life.
You're just exhausted. Your body's tired for some unknown reason.
That's exactly right.
You're distracted by something in life.
But unfortunately, many of the parents have been taught, well, the standards of these tests, you evaluate the success of the school based predicated upon the test. That's just not true. Mm-hmm. The fact is that you don't understand the accomplishments and whether the objective of educating the child is, whether these objectives are being met and whether the school is being successful, unless you're talking about the particular student and what that particular student is learning and where they are in their educational journey. Mm-hmm. And this is something that takes a tremendous amount of evaluation, that a lot of it's a conversation amongst the faculty and the teachers, and the parents need to be involved with that as well, and so should as well as the school board, which is what I'm very happy to provide as the curriculum chair for Hopewell Crest.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then you brought up support for educators and staff. I mean, is that something that's already going on that well? Or
yes, it is. And unfortunately, I believe that there are many school boards out there that have, or there could be possibly adversarial relations with the administrators and schools, which the teachers, which in my estimation is very, very unfortunate. And the children the students are the ones who suffer in that regard, as well as everyone else not providing, not working in a positive work environment. But I know that our school administrator, our chief administrator, Megan Lamerson, I trust her. I trust in her ability to make decisions. Mm-hmm. And she tells me what she thinks, and she's there on the front line every single day, and she's there communicating with every student and every faculty member, and I trust what our curriculum director, Jen Lutek, says. They're there, and in my estimation, my role as a school board member is to support them.
Sure.
And to empower them and to embolden them and to give them the resources, if I'm able to do so that they're able to succeed. And so that's why it's very important in my estimation that the school board has a very, very positive and working relationship with the administration and the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. If things are going well, you might as well just support and steer the ship forward. And then you also brought up fiscal stewardship. Is that something that's generally under control? It
is. We have a conservative board, and we are going to be in the process of expansion. So there is going to be some funding that will be needed. The state takes up a percentage of the funding, but we're simply running out of room for the students.
Oh, okay.
We need rooms for the students, and that's just for the students that we have now.
Right.
It's anticipated that we will be getting, there will be an influx of demographics coming into the area, which will require more room.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that we as a board need to take into consideration, and we need to take into consideration. And I told my fellow board members this last night that we have to be able to answer questions about any proposed increase in taxes, and we have to answer them truthfully, honestly, and intellectually. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that we want to do in raising taxes for expansion, but it's something that we have to do to educate our students. But this is something that needs to be very transparent. All questions by the citizens need to be answered.
I've heard issues about certain initiatives being
taxes
introduced under the rug kind of stuff.
Well, that's not good. Everything has to be out, open, and in the front. That's why we have public time for every school board meeting that we have for the public to come and ask their questions and become informed. So the opportunity is there, but taxes are already too high.
Sure.
Everywhere. The state taxes, the local taxes, the national. Who wants a tax increase? I don't.
Nope.
But on the school board, I also know that we need room for students.
Yeah, where else are they going to go, right?
We have to have the room so that they're able to be sufficiently educated. I mean, right now we have offices being shared, and we have the library becoming schoolrooms, and so people aren't able to utilize the library, and there's all sorts of shuffling going around, and they're doing the best that they can with the room that they have. But this is something that really, as our board president Mike DeRose has said, this is a can that's been kicked down the road, but now the hens have come home to roost.
Sure.
If you will.
So then, if I'm to summarize as we wrap up in the last couple minutes, it sounds like things are generally going well over in Hopewell-Shiloh School District. What are there, 5 people running for 4 seats or something like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Now we have, I believe there's 5 or 6 people that are on the ballot.
Okay.
Now, like I said, 3 years ago, I was the only one on the ballot.
Yeah.
And the year before that, nobody was on the ballot. So this is something that, but a lot of the people, so my question would be, without the experience.
Yep. Incumbency.
Without already being involved in learning, there's a learning curve there.
Sure.
And that takes time, and I can attest to that. It's taken a couple of years, and I try to keep my remarks down and my words. I try to keep my words few, and what I do say hopefully has some substance. But it takes time to learn, to become acquainted with the staff and the administrative staff and the educators. It takes time to learn the process. And so in my estimation, the board is very strong, and we have some challenges ahead of us. And we will be deliberative, and we will think these things through, and we will do what is best for and as I've said, a lot of people will say, well, you're doing it for the children. Yes, we're doing it for the children, but we're also doing it for the administrators, the faculty, the teachers, the parents. We're doing it for the parents, and we're doing it for the citizens of Hopewell Crest. We're doing it for the taxpayers of Hopewell Crest.
So generally speaking, things are going well, and you're just asking for re-election, and so that you can continue with your experience, and hopefully the school district will continue to do well.
Well, I consider it an honor to be elected by my neighbors in Hopewell and Shiloh Borough, and I hope if they would bequeath me with the honor once again in November, I would be happy to serve another 3-year term.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is J.R. Carman, who's running for school board in the Hopewell-Shiloh district this November. Looking for your vote. Thank you very much again, sir, for having me, or for coming on the show and giving me some time. You also did have me on your show.
My pleasure.
And that was very informative as well.
We had a good show.
Next week we have a couple of people from the Millville Community Center coming on. We're going to try and talk about some solutions that everyday people can get involved with, because sometimes we talk about solutions a whole lot, but getting involved and actually getting your hands dirty is sometimes more important than talking about elections. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week for Inform the Vote Radio Hour here on Cruising 92.1 WVLT in Vineland.
When your home needs a new floor, trust Highland Carpet to do the job right. Highland Carpet's professional installers will install the best name brand carpets, hardwood, laminate, or luxury vinyl planking at a